Hello, everyone out there in podcast world. Hope you're having a wonderful day. You're listening to or watching Service Business Mastery Podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Tersh Blissett. Josh is not with us today. He is sick. He was out vacationing and goofing off a lot last week. That's why he wasn't here last week. And yeah, his kiddos, they got him sick, down for the count. Well, it's like what my mom always told me. If you lay down with dogs, you'll get fleas. I don't know if it pertains to this situation or not, but probably not. But yeah, uh, get well, Josh. I know you're going to be watching this and probably trolling our comments. But if you've never watched this show, if you never tuned into the podcast, it's a Service Business Mastery Podcast, and we focus on service business owners, managers, and technicians who are considering becoming business owners themselves. The whole goal and target of the podcast is to help answer some unasked questions that you may not know to even ask as a business owner, and then also to share experiences that other people have with their home service business. And I'm super excited to have Zach on the show today. He has a company called Liftify, and they do reputation building. And so we're going to talk a little bit about why you should maintain your reputation. I mean, it is 2024. It is the first podcast episode of 2024. And by now you should know that reputation building, managing in general is ridiculously important as a small business. So, we're going to talk to Zach about why he got started and why it's so important to do this kind of management and as a small business owner. But with that being said, I want to give a huge shout out to the people and teams and everybody who make this podcast possible. And I will say that we have a brand new partner on the podcast, and a huge shout out to everyone over at MarketStorm. We recently did a podcast episode with them, and I will link that podcast episode to this to the show notes on this episode whenever it goes live on the podcast catchers. And I'll also give you a whole lot more information about MarketStorm. But I don't want to say anything wrong right now. And Josh was supposed to share that information, and of course Josh flaked out on me. So good job, Josh, on that one. No, I'm kidding, Josh. But next up front, Justin and Noah, we're going to be talking with them in a couple of weeks at the AHR Expo. And they do, they do a ton of things. They Facebook marketing and online pricing, putting your prices of your equipment on your website, which is kind of a taboo thought to some people, which so it's really cool how they do it and the process they do it. And they have a new AI platform out there that they have it's just a lot of great things. I'm excited to talk to Justin about the things that they have coming up here shortly too, and Justin and Noah. Next up is Sarah. Sarah is a CRM platform, FSM. I see it written FSM and I say CRM. I don't know what Billy actually wants me to say on that, but it's where we catch all of our customer data. And it's more than just customer information. And we use it as our dispatch software. It's great. There's so many automations built into it, and it's very simple to use. It's sometimes so simple that I'm like, I need more steps because I feel like this is too easy. But I absolutely love Sarah, and we've been using Sarah in our business here for several months since we've onboarded with them. And it's great. Onboarding sucks in general, CRMs, but it's been a very suck-free process of onboarding. I have my personal person, not an onboarder, but my manager. He probably hates that he's my manager, but because I text him and email him all the time. But huge shout out to Parker. He's awesome. But yeah, we absolutely love Sarah, and we can see all of our numbers instantly, and our guys gamify it. So that's really cool. I love that part of it. And then last, definitely not least, Company Cam, digital asset management tool. We use this in congruent with Sarah. So every time a new project or a new job is created in Sarah, it automatically, we have a Zap built to create a new project inside of Company Cam. And so then the guys in the field can collect all the pictures and maintain the metadata that's related to those images inside of Company Cam. And we have that. It's very easy to search all those pictures and stuff whenever we need access to that. But with that being said, let's get started with the show.
Are you looking for valuable business advice to reach that 7-figure revenue mark? Do you want actionable tips to properly navigate through every business challenge you encounter along the way? Let Tersh Blissett and Josh Crouch be your guide in getting you to the top here at Service Business Mastery. Tune in as they sit down with world-renowned authors in business, leadership, and personal growth who share valuable insights about management, marketing, pricing, human resources, and so much more. Let their nuggets of wisdom gold guide you in owning a thriving, profitable, and ever-growing business. Here are your hosts, Tersh and Josh.
Hey, Zach.
Hey, good morning.
Hey, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So tell us a little bit about yourself, your background, I guess, and why Liftify.
Yeah, absolutely. My name is Zach Garrett. I'm the founder and CEO of Liftify. We're a company that is in the reputation management category, but I like to call it reputation building because we're not out there to manage or just monitor your reputation. We want to help you build it and believe that that's key to success. So a little background on me. Live in Indianapolis, grew up here, went to school at Purdue. So it's basketball season right now and we're number one. So hopefully we continue that. So it's much more fun on the basketball side than football. In my background, football is not so good, but basketball is really good. So enjoying that season of life right now. And kind of background for me, went to school for marketing, spent 7 years in a Fortune 1000 company, working my way up, running digital marketing programs and their partner programs across the globe. And during that experience, kind of our journey was we bought a house, my wife and I started needing different things. We replaced a roof. We had an HVAC issue. We went and bought a new car. We put in a patio, just different things. And the only thing I did every time is I pulled out my phone and I just got on Google Maps and started reading reviews and ratings from companies. Yeah. And, we live in Indianapolis, which isn't a small market. And I was continually frustrated that companies did not have a lot of reviews or recent reviews, responding to the reviews. Like I just didn't get the information I was looking for from that. And I just didn't understand it. I know that I'm not the only person that is looking and using that as part of my buying process when I'm looking at a company, especially when I don't understand any of this stuff, like which HVAC company do you trust or roofing company? Yeah. And so that's an important, part of the value in the content that I need to see to choose a company. And I just wasn't seeing it online. And so to make a long story short, while I was, doing the marketing thing in a big corporation on the side, really when COVID hit, I slowed down. I had been traveling a ton and had this idea and sat on it for too long, frankly. And that was a time where things slowed down. A lot of small businesses were scared and just struggling. They didn't know what was going to happen in April and May of 2020. And so I just said, you know what, I'm going to see if there's something to this, if I can help. I think there's a missed opportunity. I know there's softwares out there, but it just seems like people aren't succeeding with this at the level that they could. And so very kind of old school, we started sitting down with business owner by business owner. Initially it was via Zoom because nobody was, wanting to meet in person. And we just started talking to owners, people I knew second or third, through my own network, and said, hey, you run a home service business. You had 2 reviews last month. That seems like a missed opportunity. Do you care about this? And, what was interesting is every business owner we talked to said, yes, I understand it matters and I do care, but either we're really focused on internal survey processes, net promoter score, other internal loops, or we've bought software and it hasn't produced what I wanted. And those
Yeah.
were two themes that we consistently saw. And so we just started working with business owners, figured out, a recipe to really have them succeed, and started organically growing and really bootstrapped the whole thing. I did it for a while before I jumped in full time. And we jumped in full time, started growing in some franchise systems and different trades organizations and in some different industry stuff. And 3 years later, part of me can't believe it every day when I wake up, but we have 1,000 locations we serve all across North America and are growing quickly. And so now my role is kind of shifting from working with a lot of companies to leading a team and doing a lot of those things well.
Okay, so with that being said, how has that transition been for you? Like, have you ever read E-Myth Revisited?
I have, yeah.
So you going from the technician to management and then have an entrepreneurial mindset, but nobody or not very many people have all three of those mindsets, especially at the same time. How has it been in your business transitioning from actually interacting with the clients, interacting with all these business owners or managers in the company, to now transitioning into managing your team and not having your hand on everything?
Yeah. Part of it's been really good and part of it's been really hard. I think the good side, and a lot of entrepreneurs or people that want to be owners, like in the terms of like EOS or, traction, like I am the visionary person
Yeah.
and I
Mhm.
like living in that. I don't love the detail and I don't like all the little details that I had to do at one point. The
Yeah.
billing and the password resets and all that stuff. So getting that off my plate has been great, and allowed me more time to focus on the vision stuff. And that's
Mhm.
what gives me energy, doing stuff like this with you, talking about evangelizing, why what we do matters. I believe in it, so that part's great. On the other side, things aren't always done exactly how you would do them. And a lot of times they end up being done better, but it's hard. It's hard to just give it up. And this is how we did it, and now we need to build actual processes and structure and all of those things. And that's not where I'm bent. So you kind of have to
Mhm.
force yourself to do those. So there's been good and bad, with it, but I think it's a journey. And, your point on E-Myth or just reading, like for me, podcasts, like this, books, just continually being a learner and saying, hey, like if I can consume it, I can figure it out, and I just need to learn from other people. And so I've tried to really over index on that. And I think it's serving me well.
There was a point in my career where I can look back to it vividly. I know when it was, when I was just so hungry to learn, and it I wasn't as worried about implementing. I mean, I did want to make sure I implemented it quickly, but I was starving for knowledge. And then I feel like it got to the point to where I was reading repeated messages just by a different author. And that irritated me. Um, and then like so I was like, I don't want to waste time, because time is valuable resource that you'll never get back. And so I didn't want to waste time rereading the same message over and over again. But I understand reading something by two different people, and getting a different message out of it, even though they're kind of talking about the same thing. Uh, how, I guess the question that I'm running into is, how do you stay engaged with that desire to learn while you're also running your business, and you're growing your business, very quickly growing it? And I know we're not talking reputation building right now, but as a business owner to business owner, like it's very easy for us to get stuck in the shiny object syndrome, where it's like, okay, this is cool, let's go over here. Like AI is cool,
Mhm.
let's learn all about AI, and forget about air conditioning. How do you stay excited about learning more when it comes to reputation building?
Yeah. Well, I think that part for me is easy because I believe so deeply that what we're doing is making an impact for businesses. And like I can tangibly feel it. And it's something that I didn't feel in my corporate role, and there's nothing wrong with that. And I was doing a job and I was doing it well and it was a good company. But I
Mhm.
didn't feel business owners contacting me and saying, man, like this has changed our business. It's helping our team, our community, those type of things. So I'm really passionate about, the actual work that we do. And now it's not even just for the customer, but also creating an environment for our team members that we're bringing on. We brought on 3 in the last, 6 or 7 weeks. And I think the culture we're building and what we're doing is just very different than the environment they came in. And to provide an opportunity like that is fun. And I think, related to a lot of business owners we work with, like, you've got an amazing opportunity to pour into people, in your business. And so just getting back to the why, I think sometimes the longer you do it, the more you forget, like, why am I doing this? And it's not just for the money, it's also because, hey, you want to provide a good product or service to people, and that matters. And that makes a difference in their life. And then, you as a leader or owner, you're providing an opportunity for someone to have a job and feed their family and build their future. And I think, I'd encourage people, like, don't lose sight of that. Even if you've been doing it 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, like, it's still just as important to continue to remember that why is big.
That's huge. Yeah, that's huge. And Simon Sinek I love Simon Sinek's, a lot of it's theory based, but he makes great points. And, starting with why is one of his books. And it's one of those things where I need to go back and read it constantly to just remind myself of exactly like what you just said there, which is a very, very great point. Great points there. All right. So transitioning into reputation management and reputation building, we all know, like we said, or like you said earlier, you talk to business owners, it is very important. But it's very easy to get left, like, put off to the side when business is booming. Like when we're busy, like during the summertime in an HVAC company, like you're rocking and rolling, getting more and more and more reviews isn't always like top of mind. Just like maintenances during the middle of summer is not top of mind. Selling memberships isn't top of mind in the middle of summer. But it's extremely important to gather those reviews and those memberships while you're busy, so that whenever the demand slows down, you're still the top of mind. You're the top of Google list. Tell me your thoughts about, like, statistics wise, replying, like the importance to even reply to the ones that you're getting currently.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, if I can hit on the point before, I think the last few years have been a good example of exactly what you're saying, where for a lot of home service companies, 2020 through 2022 is a time of feasting, right? They did great. And there were 2 kinds of companies. There were companies that recognized, that Google reviews specifically as a way that I can win, and really focused on it when times were good, customer volumes were high. They really built their reviews. And then 2023 has been a tough year for a lot of companies in a lot of ways. And you have companies that built up an arsenal during those good times of great reviews, and now they are top dog by a long shot in their market. And there's less customers out there today, especially for more discretionary businesses in the trades, right? And so they're capturing more of that share because they are the top dog in that space. Where contrary, if you were someone who just put your head down and just said, hey, we've got work, it's great, we're just going to go focus on the work. Now, 3 years later, you've been left behind, by someone that was there, and you're going to have to fight really hard to crawl back. And so I think, on that point, we see it all the time. And that was pushed back. It's funny now, just being in the environment we're in at the beginning of 2024, but a year and a half, our biggest pushback was like, look, Zach, we've got leads. We don't need another thing to worry about. I know I should do this, but like, I'll do it later. And, those companies,
I've been guilty of doing that myself. Like, all right, so we have to set up something else. Now I have to onboard something else. I have to teach the guys how to do the X, Y, and Z. I have to teach the ladies in the office to do X, Y, and Z. I'm just trying to put out fires right now and make more money.
Yeah. And there's a time for that, but I think just, even if it's monthly or quarterly, whatever, just looking bigger picture and saying, hey, what needs to be true in 5 years? And you need to be a top rated company, in 5 years, if you want to win online organically and get organic leads. So, okay, what do we need to do that, and just not losing sight of that, I would say is critical. And, in a really, kind of ironic way, even in 2024, after the year we've had, you're seeing the outputs there, just from the last few years of this. But on your question on responding to reviews, I think 2 things that, stick out that are really surprising when we talk to customers. Number one is that 23% of reviews, 23% more reviews were posted on Google last year than the year before in total. So if you think about
2023 or 2022, because like we transitioned that one day there. So like it's like last year or last year.
So 2022 versus 2021, the market grew of total Google reviews posted was up 23%. So if you think about that growth rate, right, that companies are getting on this, they're getting reviews from their customers more than ever. So 23% more reviews were posted. And out of those reviews, most businesses don't respond to them, the majority of them. So the data shows that more than 90% of consumers read responses the businesses have to reviews, but less than 40% of businesses ever respond.
Say that one more time.
90% of consumers read review responses from business owners on the reviews, but less than 40% of businesses ever respond.
So it's not. So, I mean, Josh would tell you, and I've heard him say this a bunch of times, so I'm going to quote Josh on this one. It's the speed to responding to those reviews. Like, it's not just the importance of responding, but how quickly you respond to them and the things you say in the responses for SEO value. But, and SEO is great to get ranked, but SEO isn't conversion necessarily. So you still have to convert, and the way you convert is by responding properly to the review. Arguing with people about a 1-star review online is probably not the best way to do it. Although I have seen some where people, they argued and all of a sudden they had just this bandwagon of other people that started jumping on a Facebook review, one that comes to mind. And ultimately the person that was that's left the review or whatever, the not recommendation on Facebook, didn't look the greatest. But that's not the norm. Like, normally you look like a fool as a business owner lashing out. Me personally, it's my child, it's my baby. I am extremely passionate whenever somebody sends me a 1-star review. I was telling you before, we've gotten a 1-star review one time, and we deserved that 1-star review. Like, we dropped the ball. It was a terrible customer service experience for the individual. The process was not followed at all. I mean, we coached internally about what happened there, but the way that I responded, and this is before I used any kind of AI to do any responses. This was me personally doing it. So I was really biting my tongue on this one and trying not to take any of what he said personal. But we took care of the situation. We responded professionally and empathetically, and genuinely wanted to get it fixed and him taken care of. And he turned around and changed it to a 4-star review. And I'm not saying that would guarantee to happen, but the way that we responded to that review is the reason that he went back and changed it. And we also, we obviously went back and made it right. And the situation, we corrected it. But the way that we responded to that review is the reason that it went from a 1-star review to a 4-star review. And I will say, from my personal experience, the way that I look at reviews, I mean, you mentioned before, like, you get on Amazon and you see like 50,000 5-star reviews and no 1-star review, or a handful of them. And that seems fake. Like, we talked a little bit about this beforehand, and I'll ask you this again. But the not having any 1-star reviews at all, it seems very fishy. It seems very, like, if you're a perfect 5-star, I feel like you bought them all. You purchased all of them from somebody off of Upwork or something, Fiverr. And I go to 1-star reviews, and obviously I'll look at the 1-star review, and if it's the same 1-star review constantly over and over and over again, like, okay, they obviously have an issue in that area. But if it's just a handful of them here and there, I want to see how the business responded. Did the business lash out at the person? Because we, as business owners, small business, we have bad days. Technician will have a bad day, and like they're going through some stuff personally, and they're fighting with a spouse or they're fighting with a kid, and then they go into this house and they just don't give the greatest customer experience, and they didn't explain why they were getting charged what they were getting charged, and all of a sudden we're getting a bad review, and now I'm lashing out at you as a customer. Like, no, not dealing with that. I don't want to be the person that gets lashed out at, but the other person that gives that good response, like that's who I love to see. Sorry, I ranted there for a minute, but
yeah, no, that's great. We always coach our customers to say, when you respond to a negative review, you hopefully can address the issue the customer has. But at the end of the day, you are not really responding for that customer. You are responding for the next 500 people that are going to read that review. The average Google review is read 500 times in the first year that it's posted.
wow.
So if you think about that, 500 times it is read in the first year that it's posted. So that's 500 people that are seeing how you responded. And they don't want to see the drama, to your point, or you lashing out. They want to see, one, that you recognized, that someone was upset, whether they were right or not, and that you plan to address the issue. Even if that's, hey, please give us a call, or, hey, that's not how we thought this happened. Please call us, we'll address it, or we're reaching out. Even something simple as that, just be factual, state it clearly, but you are writing that review response to the next customer that is considering your service, not just that disgruntled customer. So don't lose the next customer because you're too focused on the customer you already lost.
Oh yeah. That's a good point. I love that. So your tell me your thoughts and everything on it, because I kind of went on a little rant there about the speed to responses, and you mentioned how few people actually do respond. Like how, like, we're already busy as a business owner, and maybe we don't have a person in the office. We're not at the size that we have somebody who can specifically be that manager of that task. How do we do that? How do we get those review responses? Like, we're already, like we said earlier, like, yeah, we need more reviews. Now we have to set this program up to do more reviews.
Yeah.
Now you're asking me to actually respond to the reviews, and they're 5-star reviews. Why do I need to respond to them?
Yeah. Well, 100%. So the first thing is, what's the goal? The goal needs to be that you respond to 100% of your reviews quickly, to your point from Josh. And so how you get that done can be done a couple ways. You can hire, companies that you work with who is doing that service can do that for you, or someone in your office. Or honestly, with AI today, it's never been easier, to do it yourself and mostly automate the process to make it simple. So you need to do it. How you accomplish it, there's a few ways you can do it. But at the root of it, it's like, why do I need to do it? Why do I need to respond to my 5-star reviews? And there's a couple practical answers. Number one is, it's part of the search algorithms. It's an easy way for you to, one, Google likes you to engage with your customers. There's probably some, points you're going to get with Google for just continually engaging with that customer, and, keywords and different things that will help in search. It's also just the right thing to do. Someone took the time out of their day to go vote for you online, and many times write a comment about your company. And so if you want to talk about, you care about your customer experience and stuff, someone just publicly endorsed you online, you should take a moment to thank them, or have someone on your team just say, thank you, I appreciate that, that you've done it. And so I think it's just the right thing to do. You would want somebody to do that for you, if you took time to do that. And then third was what we just talked about, and the fact that people read the responses. And so if you have no responses to any of your reviews, people, it's a question mark. Do they read them? Do they care when they ask me for a review? Why would I do it? They probably don't even read them. Right. And so, it just makes sense to respond. And it's truly never been easier to do it than it is today with AI and different, outsourcing and different things you can do. And so I would say, as we launch 2024, make it a goal, whatever your company is, say, hey, we're going to be great at getting reviews, but we're going to respond to everything this year. And that just takes a little bit of effort every day or week, to do it. And it can be done.
Yeah, I love that. I mean, anybody that's listened to the show for any period of time knows that Josh and I really enjoy AI in general, whether it's Chat GPT or um, anything AI related, honestly. But I built out a while back a Zap that automatically responds to all of our reviews. And it's great because before I built, before Chat GPT integration, I built out a spreadsheet. So because I'll tell you, starting off, what I did was I had the exact same response every single time, and that looked fake as crap. It was like super generic, but I was like, it's responded instantly. It's They know that I'm there. If they read like four of them, they know that it's the same thing. So then I came up with like 30 responses, and then I put it on a Google sheet, and then had Zapier just pick them at random times. So they randomized the order of the 30 responses. But then Chat GPT came along, and now it's like, all right, I have this prompt built out explaining exactly who I am and explaining what the business is. And now every response is completely different, other than the fact that it's signed by me at the bottom of it. So it's very personalized. And so, and it also took the emotion out of it. So if I didn't get a 5-star review on something, there's no lashing out at anybody. It's that response. It's very methodical and empathetic and emotional, but emotionless at the same time.
Yeah, absolutely. It's never been easier. There's no excuse in 2024 for people to not respond anymore.
There really isn't. Okay, so I'm going to ask, the last thing I'm going to ask is gating. You don't gate yourself, and for those, can you explain what that is for those who might not know?
Yeah, so review gating is trying to, in the review request flow, trying to identify if a customer is happy or not. And then based on that, either sending them to Google if they are happy, or if not, trying to off ramp them into some kind of internal feedback loop. Google defines it as gating. It's against their terms of service. What was happening a few years ago is a lot of tools and platforms would kind of send you down what looked like a very similar user experience, right? And so Google felt like people were tricking their users, and what Google wants is authentic, real data, on their platform. That's what provides value to their consumers, right? So as a business, I think the number one mistake that businesses make is they are too worried about negative reviews, and they're willing to sacrifice 100 good reviews for one negative one. And let me just tell you, that is a horrible trade in ROI, and so people are so worried about that one bad experience getting out there that instead they limit the 100 good experiences from ever getting told online. And so that's really what we see happen is why do people gate? When you ask that question, well, at the root of it, they're more scared of the bad review and how that might hurt them than they are realizing how the good reviews will help them, that they will get. And honestly, if you run a business where half of your reviews are bad, you have much bigger problems than your reviews. You need to go fix that in your business. It should be 90% or more of your reviews are positive because you run a good company. And most businesses we work with, that's absolutely the case. They do a good job, but nobody knows it because most of their reviews are just organic or in our higher percentage of them. And by the way, if you just leave it up to chance, you're going to have a lower rating than you should, because naturally when people are upset, they go and review. When they're not upset, they're just moving on with their day. And so by gating or filtering it, you are drastically reducing the volume of reviews you can get, and your rating actually is not as good as it could look online. And so we don't recommend gating. It's against Google's terms of service. I think there's risk on getting your page suspended or, getting hit in the SEO algorithms that aren't worth it. But it also impacts your ability to understand what's going on with your customer experience. If you would, as a business owner, I want to know the 5-10% of the time someone's not happy. To your point on yours, it's good that you figured out that experience because you're able to fix it. And now that customer is not talking negatively about your business to 10 people and left the review, right? You can actually fix it. So Some people, it's hard to get them over the line and thinking through it, but gating is risky, and it's really counterproductive to what you want. And, I always tell potential customers and businesses that we're talking to, saying, look, I would much rather be a company that has 500 reviews this year and 480 of them were positive and 20 were negative than to have 25 reviews that are 5-star reviews. I'd much rather have the 500.
That's a great point. I've been guilty of that back in the day, like whenever reputation management platforms first came out. I mean, we're talking like 2012, 2011. I was just searching for it. Like I was fiending for this reputation management. Like I thought it was the next shiny object for me. But it had to have that gate in it. Like that was my thing. Like you had to have this gatekeeper. And I was like, because at that point, I knew there were problems in that business of mine that I couldn't personally solve, like because of the way that business was structured, because it was dealing with a lot of property management, and I didn't have control over the situation. And so there were people who were tenants that were going to give us 1-star reviews, and I wanted to gatekeep those people from doing it. And what that taught me was I have to fix the problem. And then I did. I had I had tough conversation with property managers. And like I didn't think that it was even possible to fix the situation. And we did. We figured it out. And now we're getting, that company gets a lot of 5-star reviews, and every now and then you get a 1-star review, and then you just explain to explaining to the other tenants that are going to be looking at the reviews that our hands are tied on certain things. And so yeah, you made it. That's a great point that you made there. I love the fact that you mentioned, getting that 1-star review, because if we all think that we're perfect all the time, we'll never strive to improve anything. And
consumers smell that out too, right? I don't want to have a business that has perfect reviews and everything's glowing. And I run an HVAC company. We have 1,000 perfect reviews and nobody's ever said anything bad about me online. Like potential customers, that's like reading an Amazon review with the 500,000 reviews that are perfect. There's no crazy people or anything. You're immediately suspicious, right? You don't want that. You want it to be authentic and say, hey, here's 5 cases out of our 500 times that we screwed up, and here's our responses to them. And, and the good outweighs the bad dramatically. And it actually improves the customer experience overall. One exercise, Tersh, that we tell people to go through, so like in your businesses, is just now a new year is a perfect time to do this. Just as a business, literally write down how many jobs did you complete last year, or how many unique customers did you work with? So let's just say it's 1,000. You worked with 1,000 customers last year. Take the number go count your Google reviews and how many you got. And let's say it's 50, and divide that 50 by that 1,000 and say, okay, we're at 5% of our customers leaving us a Google review. And I think the fallacy, especially the larger the company is and the more jobs you do, the worse this is. But a lot of companies are just comfortable, say that's 10,000 jobs that you did and you got 500 reviews. You're like, hey, we get 500 reviews. We're pretty good. We have reviews come in every day. But when you actually divide that, that means that 95% of your customers did not vote for you online. So think through that. What percentage of your customers last year did not vote for you online, and make it a goal to grow that. In an HVAC business, it should be between 10 and 20%. We targeted at 15%, to 20%. In discretionary businesses, it should be higher. It should be 25% or more. In most businesses we come into, they are high volume businesses that are successful HVAC, roofing companies, but they are getting like 1 to 2% of their customers leaving a review. And they don't really realize it's a problem until you show them, if they got 10x that, what are all the ways that it would help their business?
Yeah,
does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. So I lied. This is my last question.
Okay.
Maybe. Using a platform such as yours versus sending out the automated response as soon as we finish a service call and like it triggers inside of Sarah. Okay, service call is completed. Let's send this text message out asking for a review. And I know some people who have great processes where they're using that, but the technician's still standing there and they've received the text message while the service technician's standing there. And they're like, hey, would you do me a favor and like leave us a review? I don't care what it is, just leave us a review. And that's a great, I know those people have very high review success rates. But just for the average Joe that just like, all right, it's automated. Either way, when we leave the house, it's automated. Which process is better, or is it the same, or do we need to do more than just send out that message?
Yeah. So automation and having things that happen every time and aren't people dependent, especially if it's not you out there and you have guys you're relying on to do a lot of things right, is critical. So if you have Service Titan or, one of the major CRM, platforms out there, there are kind of two choices, right? You can typically do a one-step follow-up, with them organically if you have the right licensing or, whatever, that's a text or an email. Or for companies that want to go beyond that and do multi-step sequencing and do things where it's going to track them, make it easier for the customer, those are companies that would work with us. We have 100 customers, probably you use Service Titan, have the option based on their level to do it organically through there. So, on the first part, automation is great and critical. You should ask every customer and that should be automated. If you want to be great at it, use a company, like ours that can really take it multi-channel, multi-step and kind of do the varsity level, follow-up, if you will, versus just one follow-up. Secondly, after you have that automation, so I'd say step one, get that in place, do that really well. Step two, it's great to do it in the field. And there is truly nothing that's going to drive a better conversion than, Bob standing in front of somebody and saying, hey, Susie, it matters to my boss and helps me if you leave me a review. Will you do it? And trigger it to him right there, or have a QR code. We give all of our customers that and coach in the field. That's great to do. The challenge with it is it relies on someone doing it, and it's a continual coaching and pushing, and you have new technicians and you have to continue to do it. So don't rely on it, but have it be,
on what
another piece.
What mood the technician's in as well. Like I've been that technician where it's like, I'm just ready to get the heck out of here because I got 12 calls to catch or something, like that's the last thing I want to deal with,
Yeah. And it can also be the customer, right? You could have them, like my wife, there's 3 kids and you just taking one up for a nap and you truly don't have a good time, to do it. There's one a moment where that person wanted to be interrupted and leave you a review. So that follow-up's important, but we would say both, both are viable, but step one, get the automation set up and do it. And then step two, do it in the field if you can.
How often, so how often are you following up with these people? And like, is it just like a 2-step thing, or like you clicked, so they've clicked on the link, but they didn't leave a review. Let's bug them about it at this point.
Yeah. So most kind of standard processes are going to be just one text message, thanks for working with us. Click here to leave us a review. What we do is we do email and text, and we typically do 2 reminders, typically via email. People are really surprised at how many people actually still respond via email to those things, even if it is on their phone. Like I'm somebody that lives on my email all day. Like I have texts go through and fantasy football, all those things. Like I'm never going to respond to that. But my email, I'm on, all day I'm on my computer. So we go multi-channel, and then we're doing a couple reminders in that process. And then I think the other thing, like what we do that is a little bit different, is we are really focused on the messaging that's coming in those. So it's typically coming from the owner. We like to put goals in the messaging. So, hey, we're really trying to get to 100 reviews by the end of the year. Would you please help us? We're locally owned here in Savannah. And, so there's different tactics you can use from a messaging perspective that will really help. So it's not just about, hey, did we send a text? But it's really like, hey, how are you compelling someone to help you and inviting them in, and why would they take the time to do it? And then giving them multiple steps and an easy path to get there.
Yeah. As long as you update the goals You can't just set that
Correct.
one and leave it, because you get to 100 and then all of a sudden, I noticed you're at 150. So I guess I don't need to leave this review.
Yeah, yeah, fair enough. Well, that's why, like for us, we manage that process
Oh
for all
yeah,
of our
yeah, yeah,
customers. But if you're doing
totally.
it organically, it might be intensive. But those are, tricks during
No,
COVID.
that's a great
There was
idea.
a
It,
messaging around
it,
COVID. Hey, help our local business in the community. There's a big momentum around that. So my point, really is just that what you say in those, not just about setting up a workflow, but like
yeah,
read it and say, would I respond to that? Would my spouse respond to that, or my mom or dad, in their home, and just use that as your qualifier.
it's funny you mentioned the putting yourself in that situation. There are certain companies out there that I wanted to leave a response. I wanted to leave a review. When they sent it to me, I was in the middle of doing something else and I couldn't do it. And I was like, I'm going to do that. And I forgot. And then they sent me another message and I was like, oh yes, I forgot I was going to do this. So I was going to do it and I didn't do it that time either. But then the third time I was like, they're not going to send me another reminder. I need to stop what I'm doing right now and I'm going to do it. And I did, and I left them a review. And then there's other times when I've received that request and I'm like, that's just garbage. Like, why ask me that way? Like, and then like it's the same sequence where I've had like 3 or 4, text messages or emails or whatever. And I was annoyed by those, but I think I was annoyed by those companies because I wasn't going to leave them an amazing review. Whereas the ones that gave me the amazing service, which is that's important thing to get at here, is you need to be providing amazing service also. And it's not just having this awesome, reputation building platform that's going to save your business from having crappy processes and terrible customer service. You got to start off with amazing customer service and then implement something, a process like this, or, simultaneously. But that other company that wasn't great, they didn't have they didn't tell me the problems that I had. And I remember exactly who it was because it was a bad experience. They sent me 3 text messages also, and I was annoyed by the end of the last, text message that I got from them. And I would have forgotten about it, but because they kept sending more messages, I was more and more likely to give them a 1-star review. Have you ever seen that happen? Like, have you? I guess you can't do much about that yourself, other than coach and say, hey, look, you need to improve your processes and customer service.
Yeah, well, I think our strategy around that is, sure, do people have different ranges on how much they want to be communicated with? That applies to everything, your
Sure.
maintenance reminders, all of that stuff. Like, people have their opinions, but the approach we have taken is how you word it matters a lot, and how people take it. So like, it shouldn't look automated, even if it is automated, so we really bias heavily towards having things look like they're coming from the owner. And even in those reminder sequences, saying, hey, if your experience wasn't great, just reply and let me know, like to the email. So like with our system, they can reply to the email and then we actually just get it back. Right. It's not a review, but is there anything we could have done differently? The way that you frame that in that situation is like, why aren't you leaving the review? If you had a great experience, it's probably just because you haven't had time or taking it,
Yeah.
or to your point, you actually didn't have a great experience. So then how can you weave in the messaging to learn from that and try to get feedback that isn't just through a review, but cycles back to you in doing that? So it's kind of just a strategy around how do you make the most of that, with also, recognizing that, hey, at the end of the day, this is a game we have to play and we have to be great at getting reviews. So we can't be scared to ask. We've got to do it. Our competitors are doing it. Everybody else is doing it. We've got to grow in this. So it's really a question of how do we do it well?
Yeah, absolutely. Zach, man, I appreciate it. I appreciate you hanging out with us. Liftify.com, is that the best place for everybody to go?
Yeah. Liftify.com. See case studies, contact us. Love to do a demo and kind of show you how what we're doing is different than some of the other big players, in the space that we're in. And I think our big kind of thing is we care about local businesses. My dad ran a local business. Like, we care about the people, and we're trying to bring the service back to SaaS. And it's not just a tool that you buy and then don't use. We're going to be on you and make sure it's running for you. And we've got a team here that really cares.
Cool, man. I appreciate you hanging out with us and sharing everything. If anybody has any questions at all, don't hesitate to reach out to Zach's team. If you have any questions for me, don't hesitate. Servicebusinessmastery.com. There's a little icon at the bottom. That is not AI. That's not a chat bot of any sort. You just put your message in there and it comes straight to Josh and I's cell phone for us to leave a voice response to you. And you can leave a voice message response to us. But I appreciate you hanging out with us and checking out everything that Zach said. And I've been taking notes. So I got stuff to fix in my own business as well. So I appreciate you hanging out with us, Zach.
Yeah. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. We'll see you guys later.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Service Business Mastery. Now that you are equipped with essential business advice from this impactful conversation, you are one step closer to becoming the successful owner of your dreams. If this episode has been helpful to your business journey, don't forget to subscribe to the show, leave a rating, and share it with other owners as well. Visit servicebusinessmastery.com to learn more.